Okay, like let's review quickly estimating the cost and defining the budget and show some of the concepts we have. So estimating the cost, we say we use the same tools and techniques we've seen in estimating the duration. We come up with activity cost estimates, which is our project cost, the total, and we have something called basis of estimates. Basis of estimates means what? Means all the facts or the assumptions you made on which you base your estimates. يعني أحيانا when we work about how much or how long or will it take to paint this room. Okay? So we say, well, it will cost, let's say, how does the process go in our brains? So we need a painter, for example, for one painter, we need the painter for 5 days. Okay, and for these 5 days, the cost per day is $100, for example. So activity of painting the room will cost how much? $500. Okay, for example, huh? Yeah, including all the resources and so on. So let's assume the painter will bring his. So this is one of the bases of estimates, which is what the painter will have his equipment with him. Okay, so there won't be any cost for the equipment. The second assumption is the painter should be able to paint the room. So he or she should be skillful enough. Okay, these are called the basis of estimates. Why do we need to document them? Because later on, if we realize that the painter is not skillful enough, and we have to change the painter, or maybe put him through a course on how to paint a room, extra cost, yeah. These bases of estimates will save your neck, or save your something else. Okay? Why? Because they شو يعني عارف save your what? Okay. طيب وهي بسأل how. So imagine you're walking a tight rope. شفته في السيرك اللي هو اللي بيكون ماشي في الحبل. Okay. What do they have underneath them? لا قبل المرتبة في safety net. أيوه. Safety net. So just in case they fall, this safety net will save their necks. Okay? So if you don't put that safety net and you say it will cost $500 وخلاص بدون أي تفاصيل. Okay? Now something happened and the painter is not skillful enough. So the boss will tell you, well, how come you bring in an unskillful painter? So you tell him, but I assumed that he should be skillful. Well, that assumption should be documented in your basis of estimates. So we want you here to tell us the philosophy of your estimation. What is the philosophy? What did you base your estimation upon? Okay, that's very important to document. So people will look, say, so he said this based on this. Okay, so we call this your safety net. Okay, like sometimes if you want to cost a project, okay, we launch a tender. Does that happen? Yeah. Right? So tendering in itself could be a process to help us in costing the project. Right? But it has to be done in an ethical manner. Means what? If I have a project, this happens in Sudan, by the way. Okay? So we have a project, big project. We don't know how much will it cost, and we don't know how to do it. So we launch a tender. عطاء وزارة كذا كذا. We want to build this building in this location. Please collect the document from the ministry, and the document will cost you money. So to collect the document, you have to pay $500. Yes. Okay. So we launch this tender, but deep inside we know what? This is not a real project. We just want what? Exactly. Which is unethical. Right? It's unethical, and if you do this in one of the countries in the West, you get sued. يعني تدخل في مشاكل قانونية. Okay? ها؟ احتمال sorry الخطأ because you're sending the wrong message to companies. You're telling them we have a tender. Okay, so what they do in Sudan, they launch this tender. Once they get all the proposals, they put a small notice or ad on the paper saying the ministry has decided to cancel the project. Okay, due to blah 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 blah. Although it's their right, because in the tender document itself, it says here the ministry has the client has the right to blah blah blah, right? But if you do this with the intention of not having a project, this is unethical. You can do it as long as you push what we call not an RFP or an RFQ. You should push a what? An RFI. Yeah, request for information. Now this is fine because this means as a client, I want you as contractors or as suppliers to tell me how to do this and how much, but I had not guarantee you business. Okay, we'll do this in procurement in more detail. Right? So that's called. So when you do this, when you ask vendors to bid, let's say you get this. So let's say for your project, vendor A bidded 155 million, vendor B 140 million, vendor C 160 million, okay, vendor D 55 million, and vendor E bidded 500 million. So you received A, B, C, D, E. These are the bids you received for Taxi stuff. Okay? So from your experience, what can you say about this? What's happening here?
Yeah, number D and E is not correct.
Why?
Because somebody has given number D has given a very low budget price, means he is unprofessional for the bid. And number E has exaggerated the price.
Okay.
The reasonable looks between A, B, and C. Because E prices fractions, so if you take 5% fluctuation,
right,
it's a reasonable price.
Exactly. So what say just completed, what he just done is called what? Vendor bid analysis. He just summarized what's happening in the vendor bid analysis. Right? We do it, of course, in a more scientific manner, but we just summarize it. Now, D and E, we call them what? Out in statistics. What do we call these two? Outliers. You know what an outlier in statistics? Okay? When you're counting something and then suddenly there's a measurement that's way away from the normal, we call it an outlier. Okay? Yeah, it's something illogical. Now, Said mentioned something about D and E. He said they are unprofessional. Right? Or maybe they are very professional. Or maybe you are the one who's not professional. How? Because when I get this huge variation in a proposal, the first question should be asked to who? I should question my proposal. Maybe it's not clear.
Normally, when you go for any bidding for any projects, the client asks the consultant to do the estimation and budgeting for the project.
Right.
So
you know
the consultant firm used to do this exercise. Yes. The client has the budget. For example, this Tazis is costing 150. Right. Maybe you have the budget about 160.
Yes. So at least you know. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if you have this range, there's always good reason, also some good reason. Maybe these guys want the project so badly. But sometimes vendors do this. If I want to work for you, let's say the client is a high profile, so maybe Saudi Telecom or Saudi Airlines or whatever, and I'm a small company, but I want to work for these guys to get this project and use it as a reference project to market myself. Alright? So I can say instead of spending 1 million riyal in advertising, I can underbid by 1 million riyal for this project and use it as a marketing tool. Yeah, I'm just using as an example, right? So maybe yes, if they spend 50 million from their pocket to build this project, it will win them other projects. So it's not always that they don't know or they're not professional or okay. Those guys who overbid, believe it or not, most of the time, why do they do this? Why do companies overbid?
Just to show them they are reasonable.
Because they don't want to do it. But at the same time, exactly, they don't want, exactly, because they're here with their clients, or maybe they were forced, right? So they give you, okay, 500. If you say yes, they tell you, sorry, it's actually 700. Yes, no, it's actually. So they want to get rid of you. Okay, so again, these guys are not stupid. There are good reasons to do these things most of the time. Okay.
Sometimes they're stupid.
The lowest bidder?
Yeah.
Because they don't understand. Yeah.
25.
That's why I say work on 80.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see a big gap, and sometimes
You have a good example.
لا يعني انا في رايي ان اخر اي المقارنه
Our company history.
ممكن يكونوا صح زي ما قال مستر مازن، لان في البدايه بيتفتح الصرف الفني الاول بعد كده الصرف المالي. فالصرف الفني بيتم تقييم المقاول جميع المقاولين، ممكن تلاقي الصرف لا انا عايز اقول بس رايي
ما تبص على النص كده بس.
لا انا بقول لك بعد كده بيبدا يشوف لو هو منزل البروبوزال بتاعه كل السبشنز بتاعته اللي بيقول والله انا بسعر يشمل 1 2 3 وفي عندك في الرسومات اخطاء بيوضح، بيبداوا يبصوا له كسعر، يعني في سعره ما بيترفضش استوتل زي ما بيحصل. ايوه بالظبط عشان كده ما رضيتش اتكلم يعني لا بص
الله يخليك هو مثلا خلاص عندك مليون ومنزلات فلكيه وكده عاوز يجيب مليون بدل ما يعمل ياخدوا مشروع ده بدل ما يفلس النهارده يحصل 5 سنين.
If you're bankrupt. Okay, so let's move now to determine budget, and in determining the budget, we have our cost or scope baseline along with our schedule and with the estimates, because we said budget is the process of marrying two things. Budget is the son, legitimate son, الابن الشرعي للزواج بين مين ومين. So his budget was a son, legitimate son of what and what? Cost and الزواج بين الكوست ومين؟ Cost with what? We said how much do we need when? So cost and budget هو النتيجة and schedule. Okay, so when these guys bet together, they produce the budget. Okay, that's how we should remember it. Okay, because you need to know how much you want when, and in order to get your budget. Now, there's another thing in budget which is very important, or it's very useful when I lay out or draw my budget. Now, I am a project in, let's say, Sudan. This is how much money I need, and this is my duration. So this is my baseline for my budget. So this is the cash outflow. So this is how much money I need during the project, and this figure here reads what? The project cost. So the total. So this is how much money I need throughout my 12-month project. Okay? The company who's doing the work is called, let's call it Kinana, for example, in Sudan. It's a sugar company. So Kinana is building a new factory that will cost $250 million in total, right? Now, Kinana finance or Kinana's cash availability looks like this during the project duration. Okay, so the money available for Kinana, there's a gap between how much money they will have and how much money I need. This gap is called what? The project, what do we call it? Funding requirements. So it helps us in identifying the funding requirements of the project by looking into the difference between how much money we need and how much money we have. Now, some companies are lucky because their cash flow looks like this. So they're fine. What they need is less than what they have. Now, in general, this funding requirements, okay, people will not give you the money cash here. Banks do what? What do they do? To give you, how do they finance? Installments. So they tell you, okay, you need 200 million, but we want to know how much you need here and here and so the difference. So they fund you in installments based on what? Delivery performance. Right? So you do phase 1, fine, there you go.
It's a monthly invoice.
Exactly. Right? So this is another tool or another benefit for the project budgeting process. Okay. Now let's do another thing related to budgeting, which is called the cost assignment method. Now the cost assignment method we use in reporting. So let's say Ihab is the project manager of a project, okay, and Wahid is the finance manager of the company, okay, and Usama is the chairman of the company, okay. Usama calls Ihab and he asks him, how much money did we spend so far? Give me a report on the cost. So we have sent him an official report with this figure, 50K in the report. Someone puts up the phone, calls Wahid. Can you please tell me how much money we spent on the project that Usama that Ihab is working on? Okay, so as a result of this phone call, he gave him 55K. Difference of 5K. What is happening here? And they are both right. عشان ما في حد يقدر يتكلم انه يهاب عامل شغل.
There is a direct and indirect cost to something. There is a direct and indirect cost. For example, the finance manager has a
loading of office overhead.
ممكن اكون عملت الشغل بره
Staff salary.
واحدة عشان let's start with here.
عادة this is many projects at the beginning. They need advance payment, down payment, right? So cash out, no problem. It's exceeding cash in.
Right. Okay, but this is not cash in and cash out. This is, he said how much money he spent on the project. Yeah. This is how much money he spent on the project.
up to now.
Yes, this one. Yeah, after the project.
He has other expenses like insurance charge, like other expenses.
Okay, so why isn't he? He said on the project. On the project. Yeah.
انا عندي ان انا الشغل ده لازم اكون مخلص لحد
انت كمين كبروجكت مانجر؟
انا بروجكت مانجر. انا عندي بيقول ان انا النهارده بكون مخلص لحد الاس اي.
اوكي.
الاس اي ده هكلفني لحد 50 فانا كبروجكت مانجر بصيت لحد 50. ممكن اكون انا عامل شغل بره الفيس اي ديت مكلفني 85.
لا I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Mr. Ihab is a project manager. Is concerning for the direct cost of his project. Mr. Ziad is a financial manager. He's putting the other overhead, the other expenses. Maybe Mr. Ihab is not
Okay. That's what Sajuan said, yes. Which is not really, because if there are costs related to the project manager should definitely be aware of. Okay.
Like what, like take budget, you may take profit. It's like we take profit. They didn't know about this one. This one.
We talk about cost here, not profit.
I think cost.
Yeah.
maybe finance manager put some money in
Financial stuff. He's talking about financial stuff.
No, but that's not the case. That's not the case. Okay, let's try one more. Finance, okay. I'll give you a tip or a hint. The hint is cost assignment method. Cost assignment method. This is the hint. Cost assignment method. How he have assigned cost to his work, and how this guy assigns cost to work. So this is the key.
He derived from the budget.
Okay, so who's accurate? Who's more accurate?
Pmp is accurate.
Finance. Because finance says how much money left our bank account to this project. So why isn't he have putting or assigning the 5K to his initial work? Because his philosophy of assigning cost is based on completed work. So he will not report the 5,000 until when? Until he completes the task.
Invoicing. You mean invoicing?
And my meaning is finance manager voted for this project X for money in some bank.
No, example.
Bank will take profit at this time.
No, there's no
So we
profit.
add-
No, example is here. Example is very clear. And
Let's
I'll
begin.
tell you.
Let him
A
explain.
project needs 1,000 tons steel. He ordered 1,000 tons. He used 50 tons steel and he made invoice. You understand? But finance, he has the record 1,000 tons steel account.
Total.
Yes. But
Right.
project manager reports this 50 ton only to account. Because what we construct.
Exactly. But later on he will report it.
Later on he will.
Huh? Yeah.
Maybe another project might look like we make it. This package like 1,000 ton. And GRP will take half of this one. But this will use in rice, in unit rice.
Right. It could be. Could have.
This is the
Okay.
actual work. The invoice is paid based on his work approved by the consultant.
Okay.
Let us go ahead.
Okay, so let's see the cost, what we mean by the cost assignment method. You as a project manager, when you report on cost, you have to have a strategy to report cost. So if I ask you for a project cost now, and you have, let's say, these are your activities that are happening in the project. So this activity is here, this activity happens here, this activity happens all across. So if I ask you for a report here, by the end of week 3, you will report on the total cost of this project, right? And then you have these two activities ongoing, okay? How are you going to report on the cost, right? If you have a 0 to 100% rule in cost assignment, you will not report on this or this. Because you are saying, I will only report on them once they are completed. So it's called a 0 to 100 cost assignment. And that's why now, it doesn't mean you haven't spent any money here. You spent money, but you're not reporting until you finish. Because you're using the 0 to 100% rule. Okay? Now this creates problems like the one we've seen between Usama, Ihab, and who was the other victim? Who was the other victim? Was it? Wahib, yeah. Okay? Because now, to get over that, we have other techniques. We can have a 50-50% rule, which I prefer. Means what? Once an activity is activated, I will straight away attribute 50% of the cost to that activity in my cost reports. So whenever you see 50% of an activity, you know that this activity is what? Is live.
It's like
ongoing. Right? So the moment I kick off this, if this costs $1 million, I will report 500,000 on that activity. And I will straight 50%. Because it's just an indication that this is a 1 million activity and it's ongoing now. The 1 million will be attributed in week 5. Okay? So you see, all these are strategies, and most importantly, the boss, Osama, has to be educated about this cost assignment, so he understands when he gets the report what's happening. لما يقول إنه oh this guy is reporting this and this guy is reporting. So you have to understand. So 0, 100, 50, 50. The best one is the percentage completed. Yes, now this is the best, but it's the most difficult one. And this is where we have earned value. Yeah. If you have earned value, then that's fine. You're okay here, right? The percentage completed. Okay. The fourth and last one is milestones. So your activity will be divided into 4 major milestones, or 10, or 20, or 2, or 3, whatever, and then you assign the cost equally to these milestones. Yes. Exactly. Okay. If you have earned value, then you can use that. Okay. So establishing your cost baseline. Now the output of the budget process or activity is called the cost baseline, and it will look something like this. This graph, we have so many names for it. We call it the cost baseline. We call it the S curve because it looks like an S. We call it the cost baseline. We call it the project budget. All these names are used to describe this graph, but the most common one is the S curve. And it looks like an S because in most projects this is how cost behaves, right? You have a shooting here, cost, during what? Execution or implementation. Right, exactly. And then it levels off. Okay? Right, so this is how we work out our S curve. And while you work out the S curve, I will just work out something else in some part. قول اي حد بيحصل له اللي حصل له دلوقتي ده ما ينفعش يكون بتاع لوجيستكس. ليه؟ ليه؟ هيفشل في اللوجيستكس. لانه يعني ما يقدر مش قادر ادير المخزون مع المنصرف. هيفشل في اللوجيستكس. Okay, طيب, so this is understandable. اللي هو المثال اللي عملناه. Now the most important figures here are, these are called the cumulative. The cumulative هو عبارة عن ايه؟ So the total amount of money spent in each week. These ones are, so what is the budget here? What is the budget of this project? So first of all, what is the cost? The cost is 28. What is the budget? What is the budget? So the budget is 8 in week 1, 1 in week 2. Okay, so the amount per week, which totals up to the budget. And then if we lay out, or if we draw this out, it will come something like this. Not a perfect S, but the overall orientation of the X. Okay, and this is your S curve graph. Okay, so by completing this set of processes, we answered the 3 basic questions, which is the scope, the cost, and the time. Okay. So we completed the 3 basic ones here, which is the scope, the cost, and the time at the planning stage. Okay. Now all the other plans we have here in our planning are called supporting plans. Supporting means what? It means if we don't do them, we still have the core of our plan in place, because we have what we have to do, how long does it take, and how much does it cost. If we don't do any other plan, the project might struggle, but it will still happen. But without these 3 core components, the project will never happen, because these are the basic ones, right? So what are the other plans do we have to do? Quality plan, human resource plan, communication plan, risk plan, procurement plan, and stakeholder management plan. We will look into each plan now very quickly. Okay? And we start with the term quality. Right. Quality here, when we plan, first of all, when do we start planning for quality? in which stage can we start planning for quality? So after we define the scope, or before, or after the schedule, or before, straight after the scope, before scheduling, before costing.
No, it's not cost.
It's
planning.
Okay.
So after
Okay. Or it depends.
Only the proper answer is depends.
Exactly. Because there's never one way of doing it. There's no order of doing things. Because planning is a very complicated process and cyclical. So you start putting your scope and building a tower. So let's think about the quality needed by the, okay, fine. But then the quality should be regulated by what? By the cost element, right? You don't have an endless or open-ended budget for your quality, right? I'm not talking construction here, but in general, right? So your thinking is guided by so many complicated things. So there's no order of doing things. So you work like an octopus. You know an octopus? Each شغال حاجة but you have a central brain coordinating everything. It's like a web, okay, where your processes happen. Right. So let's talk about this term, quality. A very used and abused term. If I ask you for a word or to describe quality in one word, give me some word to describe quality. كلمة واحدة بس. Satisfaction.
Utility.
Utility. That's okay, guys. It's a brainstorming session, so خلوا الناس يعني خلوا عندكم حرية وديمقراطية. Okay. What else?
Quality can be good and can be bad, right?
So good.
Yeah,
You say good.
Good.
Okay.
Attractive.
Huh? Attractive.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Satisfactory.
Control.
Acceptable.
Satisfaction. Acceptable. Okay. Screen. تجيب اي حاجه في اي حته. دول الجماعه اللي بيسيئوا استخدام
ايوه.
سكرين. لا حط سكرين يعني ايه؟ سكرين يعني شاشه ولا ايه قصدك سكرين؟ قصدك ايه بسكرين؟ اوكي لا تمام حلو. شيء يعني معلش. يعني meeting one word. Standard. Yes. Specification. ISO. Beautiful. فعلا ماشيين عليه الموضوع خطر شويه كل الموضوع ماشي اصلا. طيب let me just attractive, excellent, beautiful and good. Okay, I highlighted these words. Why? Because I don't think this is quality. This is called, there's a difference between quality and grade. And that's what most of the problems stemming from. Okay? There's a huge difference between quality and grade. So I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this. Okay? And utility a little bit. So quality is like beauty, which is beauty is in the eye of what? Of the beholder. سمعتوا المثل ده? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
The person who's mission.
Exactly. يعني زي القرد في عين امه. نفس المعنى. بمعنى who defines quality? Who defines quality in a project?
Standard specifications.
A consultant who's representing who?
Client.
The client, right? And you have other quality related to safety, and I'm not talking about this quality, I'm talking about the quality of the product itself or the service. So if the client wants it this way, and he's happy with it, okay, but it's cheap, and it's not beautiful, and it's not nice, and it's not excellent, it's still quality to the client. So quality is all related to the specification and the standard and how acceptable this product to the client is. That's the meaning of quality. Okay? Don't mix it with grade. So people look at the phone and they say, oh, that's a quality phone. Very expensive, right? No, it's not quality, it's grade wise. It's either. It might not be quality because it might not be. If I give this phone now, what is the latest phone? iPhone 6? If I give this phone to my father as a gift, what do you think he will tell me? يا ايه الكلام الفارغ كنت تقول لي التليفون فيه البتاع اللي بتتاسكر دي. Okay, so quality is usually defined by the customer or the client based on what? Based on what we call fit for purpose. So that's why an iPhone 6 is not quality to my father because it doesn't fit the purpose. Yes, fit for purpose we call it. Okay, so in construction you have an easier job when it comes to quality compared to people working on IT and HR. No? Why?
Different
Why?
client, different end user, everybody has his own vision for product. Yes.
Give me example. Give me an example. Like what?
Finishing.
So what are the things?
For example, finishing inside the apartment.
Okay.
Someone wants marble, someone wants.
Right. But it's specified at the end of the day. It's hard work in terms of identifying. No. It keeps changing.
This is the it is specified here. I have to make a yellow pen or canary pen. Okay, this is the canary pen. Okay, this is specified.
Okay.
He came and see this like.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
You put whatever you want. This is the canary pen. No.
Right.
This is not the one I saw there.
Right. So how can you?
But some good organization
This is related to the duty, not the quality.
Okay, but it's still customer satisfaction.
It's mostly in factory, but in
This is not
in project with some good organization or some firms, it's okay. Everything is going by book.
not related. Speaks. Speaks is another issue.
Right.
Scholar not speaks. Scholar depending on care.
بروح له واحد سعودي كده.
شوف
هيقول لك ايه؟ شوف هيقول لك ايه؟ لا يقول لك لا ده دول before we start that activity,
Right.
we make more of story.
Right. Exactly. And at the end of the day, if the client is acting funny like this, right? What do you think the core issue is? Is it really he's not happy with the color, or there's something else? Right. Most of the time. Most of the time. Right. Okay. So how can we minimize that surprises? Or
As usual, we are making samples.
right. So you
Okay, so you agree with us. Still, you should agree and
Okay.
signature on
Right.
that particular accepted one. Then we continue. Then we continue. Cheat sheet.
No, but once they're saying color is not a spec, or it's not
We
specification.
call it samples,
So
samples and approval.
color is specification. Color is not specification.
There's another item.
Color is style by
Yeah.
choose by
Exactly. I'll tell you this story, and then I want you to see how things go. Now, every time we hand over to a client something, okay, we had a client working on an e-government project, okay, was in Qatar, Doha. Every time we hand them part of the project, we face huge problems, right? No, we don't want it this way, we want it that way, I have to rework it, blah, 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 okay? So every time we send them a person, we face this issue, okay? So 1 month, we sent a local girl, right? Okay?
Be my advice to you.
With the same thing that happened, right? She finished the meeting in 5 minutes with the client.
But this is good
Right,
only
sign
in
right?
GCC.
Right?
This is good only in GCC.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, it's not usually the word; it is the relationship management. Right? Now, in the Arab world, we think if we use girls, things are easier. Okay? But that's a oversimplistic, right? But this tells us a very important fact is that if we manage the relationship in a better way, it will be easier to get the client sign off on things. Right? This is my experience on things. Yes, exactly. Because if they hate you, whatever you do, exactly. And vice versa. If they like you, if you give them crap, they will sign it off.
This happened
In
in
European, in Europe, which
this
thing?
issue since happened.
Yeah, it's a human thing. It's a human thing. If you hate someone, you refuse everything. If you love someone, you accept everything. But in Europe, if you use girls, it's not effective. Yes.
Only in
Because
in human nature.
والله depends.
he have this issue in anywhere.
Yeah. Yes.
Not affect in
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That is why here we have the role, as you said before, we have the role of the consultants.
Mhm.
They are the mediators to solve these type of issues.
Yes, the consultant comes in because he's
In between.
trusted by the client.
Yes, in between the consultant, contact the client.
Exactly.
He will make an amicable solution.
Right. Okay. But that's what I'm saying. It comes back to relationship management, communication skills, engaging the client, making them feel they are part of the process, they are part of the decision making. Okay. Because as I said, people, collect information from different sources, and if you stay quiet, okay, they will assume things about you from whatever information they have, and once you appear, they have this perception about you. It will be very difficult. So that's why you always have to be engaged with the client all the time. Okay? So the quality management plan, we come up with a plan which says these are the things we're building according to the customer acceptance criteria or the customer requirements, and that's how we plan to make sure we do two important things in quality: QA and QC. QA and QC, quality assurance and quality control. What's the difference?
Before I give the product to
And quality assurance.
when the client take this product and accept.
Quality assurance after quality control and
Quality to be controlled, quality to be controlled, to assure the quality. Quality to be controlled, to assure the quality.
So this happens first.
Yeah, quality to be controlled, to assure the quality.
Okay, that's fine.
يعني ممكن اقول مثال حضرتك عندنا مثلا كواليتي كنترول مثلا لما انا باجي في الخلطه الخرسانيه بكسر المكعبات اتاكد ان الريزستنس بتاعت الخرسانه هي كواليتي ايه؟ هي كواليتي كنترول. كواليتي اشورنس بقى لو انا مثلا عندي مبنى وعايز ان انا مثلا هزود عدد الادوار او كده فمثلا باخد كور تيست من الخرسانه بعد ما خلصت واتاكد ان هي الكباسيتي بتاعتها اوكي.
اوكي. طيب انا عاوز مثال انه we apply QA and QC to the same process.
As a many definition.
Yes.
But I can two words, one word. Make it easy وخليها ال QA prevention. Prevention.
Okay.
منع
ايوه.
ال QC detection. حط تحتها اللي انت عايزه.
Okay. Right.
ده
هو اللي قال له
هو اللي عايز يقول عشان هو قال لي اصلا لو مش طبعا
exactly. So you just said QA is about prevention. So it's things that we do to prevent or avoid something from happening. While QC, after we finish the product, whatever we're creating, okay, And before giving it to the client, we do QC on it to make sure that it's fine. Right? Exactly. Exactly. So first we do QA during execution. Yeah.
Procedure this away.
Yeah. They both have procedures. Right? Yeah. But this happens during execution. Exactly. And this happens during monitoring.
Before you install a tile, you have to be specific tiles.
Yeah.
It's actually.
Yes.
You have to be sure you purchase the right product.
Exactly.
Then the quality control will come in the execution.
Exactly. So these procedures will be in my quality management plan. So if I'm building, if I'm creating these markers, if I have a factory creating these markers, okay, now these markers will be created or manufactured using machines, okay. So these machines have to be maintained. These machines, I have to have skillful people working on them. I have to get the best material. All these are QA procedures to make sure that I will get I get a good product will be exact, right? Once I have all these markers ready to pass to the client, before taking it to the client, I'll have someone testing them, making sure they are fine. Okay, exactly. Now this is QC. Exactly.
Okay. لو رحت المنشأة هتلاقي عنده كواليتي اشورنس، لو رحت الأمير هتلاقي عنده كواليتي كنترول، معنى المنشأة هتلاقي عنده النسبة ستيبل، عنده التكنيكال داتا، عنده البروسيجرز، عنده الإجراءات، لكن لما تروح للمهندس أمير هتلاقي عنده الكواليتي كنترول فورم، اللي تشيك على الخرسانة، تشيك مش عارف إيه، الأرض آي،
دي خطوات
الكلام ده الكواليتي كنترول. انا في ديفكت الكواليتي اشورنس هي بريفنشن سلسله بريفنشن
عشان ما يحصلش عشان ما تاثر على
Okay. The quality also, when we talk about quality, let's say we have a factory to manufacture or produce these markers. Okay. Now, a quality consultant walked into our factory and he said, I can build you a quality system for your factory, okay, and it will cost you $50,000 to build a comprehensive quality system for your factory. Okay, as decision makers, right? How would we say yes or no depending on what? What is going to be, what is the activity going on in our brains to make a decision whether to go for this project or not, whether to spend that money in quality or not? What is the activity?
What's the impact? What's the profit?
What's the profit? What do we get? Which we call the benefits, right? Versus the cost. So we call this the cost benefit analysis, CBA, cost benefit analysis. So your quality management plan, or what you have to do, will always be applied. You will apply this logic to it. What's the benefit of spending that much money in quality versus the benefit I will get? Okay, so I'll be thinking in my factory, well, let's say for the whole year, okay, I kept on producing faulty markers. What is the cost to my business? Or let's say my failure is 50%. My cost to my business is $20,000. And that includes reputation damages as well. Okay, as a factory. So do I spend 50,000 to save 20,000, or I can live with that?
No, of course. Only for my projects for 1 year.
Right. Exactly. Right. I say to hell with it. It's too much. Right. However, if I have a factory of baby food or medicines, okay, is this an option now?
No.
Because one mistake can cost me what? My entire business. right? So it's a cost benefit analysis. Yes. Okay, so you have to put that in mind. If I'm building a 50-story tower, what's the quality procedures and the cost versus if I'm building a villa for the client in the middle of nowhere? Right? Again, cost benefit analysis, and that's one of the techniques we use to create our quality. Right? We don't want to commit the mistake of doing so much quality to something that is not, yes, that's not worth it. We will be doing what is called, you heard the term paralysis by analysis? You heard that term? الشلل من خلال التحليل المبالغ فيه. Paralysis by analysis. تحليل and at the end of the day you're doing nothing. So نفس الشيء, quality over quality, and you miss the whole point of creating a workable product at the end of the day. Okay, now we have other techniques. We have something called basic quality tools. We will cover in quality assurance and quality control in later stages. But we also have a technique called benchmarking that we use. So benchmarking means what? To benchmark against what? The best in class. Okay?
Something available already.
Exactly. So if you're building a new skyscraper, exactly, you benchmark with the best. So if you want to be the best or to get the best, you have to compare yourself with the best. So we say we benchmark. So PBC as a company, in the region you benchmark with who, for example, to know your quality of business, for example. Okay? So companies that are considered the best in the region, you want to compare yourself to them in order to be as good as them or even compete with them. We call that benchmarking. Okay? Design of experiment, sampling, all this will come in the 7 basic qualities. But in general here, why did I say it's easier for you when it comes to quality? Because the procedure is the same. Maybe you have difficult clients, but I think the procedure more or less in construction is the same, isn't it? Or it differs from project to project. Yeah?
Usually.
Exactly. Now, what if you have, do you have ISO as PBC?
Yes.
Now, how do you utilize the ISO in your projects? Is it used and utilized? Yes. How? Documentation, customer satisfaction, and all that. Right. Now, can a company work in this field without an ISO certification? Right. But ISO makes it easier in terms of achieving the quality standards.
Adding value
Yes.
for the numbers.
Okay. Now, we mentioned before the cost of quality when we were talking about cost, and we said this is an extra component when it comes to cost. We have different types of cost of quality. It means if I'm thinking about my product and I need to spend money, okay, on the quality of a product or a service, I have 3 options. I can either spend in prevention or appraisal or failure. While failure is not an option, we know why. But Atmanis, you mentioned something about prevention. So we said QA is all about prevention. So spending money where, when, before the problem happens, in order to avoid it. We call that cost of prevention. Now, sometimes you spend money during the process.
Yes, that's why
We call that appraisal.
For example, the presence of site engineer, for example.
Yes, is that prevention or appraisal?
It's prevention.
Uh-huh.
It's follow up the work and
Exactly, because you want to avoid exactly, right?
That's why it's important.
Exactly, but it's a decision you make. So let's say we don't have that engineer. What is it? Site supervisor. Site engineer. Exactly. So let's say I'm as PBC decided not to have a site engineer on site,
Yes.
and something goes wrong. Where do I? What is my cost here? Cost of failure, which could be more than what the cost of having a site engineer in the first place. Alright? But this is what we call a true project management decision making moment. Why? اجيب سايت انجينير احطه ولا اذا حصل حاجه
Because he is a site engineer.
You have a site engineer?
We have site engineers, two site engineers. Where the consultant doesn't agree they are a site engineer. There is a failure on the site, he said, no, they're not.
Sorry?
Why not? Why not?
Because they are qualified to work with you. Because they are qualified to work with you.
Yeah. No, appraisal is yeah. Why are you doing the work? You need a customer.
No, my thing is,
Yes.
Maybe this 50-50.
Exactly.
But usually, 50-50.
Okay, guys, let me ask you a question here. Now, in this room, okay, in terms of spending on the quality, let's say, our lives, our human lives, right? So we want to assure that we keep our lives because it's the most valuable thing we have. So how did PPC invested in this particular product in this room? Did it invest in prevention, appraisal, or failure cost? So let's say cost. Let's say fire. Right? Now, what kind of fire prevention system we have here? We have. Is this? You have sprinklers. So is it prevention, appraisal, or failure? Prevention. So whenever there is smoke, whenever there is flame, sprinklers, right? What if we don't have all these things and we only have fire extinguishers? Huh? Is it? Failure. Right? Because I'll wait until the fire exists and then I'll fight. Okay? So it's your decision as a project manager to decide where, and this is not something the client will tell you or your boss will tell you. It's something in you while planning which procedures do I do when. And based on it, you do these things. Okay?
But sometimes you are mentioning here, the cost associated with making the product, the service acceptable to the customer.
Yes.
After it fails.
Exactly.
Sometimes we cannot repair either side with all.
Yes, exactly. So it would be very damaging. He could say no, I don't want
Sometimes
to.
you have to replace it.
Yes. Replacing it is part of correcting.
Never happens. Correction not happen.
After failure, we pay for the product.
Yes, if you must pay for it, it will cost you money, sum'ah. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Sorry? Right. Appraisal means, so here we say, let's say, if you have people on site, okay, and you train them to do their work, this is cost of appraisal. Okay, so training is an appraisal.
Instead of making money,
Right.
20 by 30, you make it 20 by 20.
Yes, exactly. Right? So if you say, let's say you have an engineer or a technician working on site. If you want to recruit the best technician, so you have interviews, you have tests, you have CV screening, all these are prevention costs. Prevention, because you want to make sure that this person who will come in will not do any mistake. So prevention, you don't want any mistake to happen. So these are called prevention costs.
Also, once I have to prevent
Yes, right. It's yes. Exactly. Exactly. That's right. Let me just finish the example. So now you recruit this person, okay? But you don't recruit that person in a rigorous process. You just say, give a help and train them on the job, appraise them. Okay? Now, to prevent, yes, but it's exactly right. There's a lot of overlap. Now, if you bring in anyone, يا أخي جيب مازن ده مش عنده أخوه، يبغوا يشغلوه مسكين عنده وظيفة. Give him something to do. Okay? So the Mazin's brother comes in and commits a huge mistake. Okay. Now, sometimes you see what's the trick here. The trick is if you don't spend anything in prevention or appraisal and nothing fails, okay, people will get a false sense of achievement. But you were lucky. You just happen to be lucky. Okay? They will tell you, we don't have a site engineer. Yeah, but it's fine, nothing is happening. So we don't need them. But you know what? You're just being lucky. Right? Because if anything goes wrong, you will realize how bad decisions you made by not having this person there. Now the challenge is what if I bring in a site engineer and nothing happens, they tell you if I didn't. Exactly. So it's very challenging. It takes a little bit of organization maturity, not so people understand this kind of quality. Okay, so a quick exercise. Okay, now I want you to tell me what type. Don't look into your notes, please. Don't look into your notes, guys. Don't look at the notes. What are the types of cost here? Inspection, prevention, okay. Product returns, failure, right? Testing, prevention slash would be appraisal, maybe could be. Employee training, okay. Corrective action, failure, definitely. Quality planning, design reviews. Well, it depends on how you understand the term. Review after or during or before. Vendor survey. Yeah, appraisal. Scrap or rejects. Failure, definitely. Process improvement. Appraisal. Loss of contract. Okay.
So في confusion شوية يعني في تداخل.
The appraisal with prevention. That's why you see here, sometimes we have prevention slash appraisal slash failure, prevention slash. So there are a lot of overlap between the two, appraisal and prevention and appraisal and failure. Right? Okay, holding inspector. Right. Next, we have the human resource. We talk about the fishbone diagram later on. So we finish quality. Now we move to human resource plan. Our next plan or supporting plan. The human resource plan. Now we have other type of resources. We have what equipment and material, but the human resource in itself is given its own knowledge area. It's very important because human beings are the most important component in the entire project. So you cannot run a project without human beings, or can you? Can you? It's very difficult, right? Very difficult unless we live in the future stage of robots and exactly where robots run the planet Earth. Okay? But at this stage, we need the human being. So in the human resource management plan, this is where we specify who do we need to work on our project team, not project management team. Project team. So here, in our construction project, we're talking about engineers, labor, and so on. Exactly. So this is what we talk about here. But at this stage, we're only specifying the roles, not the names. So at this stage, we don't know yet who will be doing what, but at least we know the roles we need. So I need 5 engineers, 16,000 laborers, 5 contractors, 200 crane operators. So I'm just talking about the roles. Okay, and muhimma or maham. Okay. Now, in my plan here, or the output of this plan should be an org structure for my project. Yeah, so I end up with an organization structure for the human resource. Exactly. So are we going to have team leaders? Are we going to have people like senior electrical engineer, senior mechanical engineer. What are the types of jobs I will have in my project? Okay, and then I should be able to identify where am I gonna get these people from. Okay, so usually when you're gonna get people to work on your project in PPC, what happens? Are you free to choose people to work with you on your project? What happens? Who specifies the people on your project? HR? Yeah.
People or
Yeah. So if say for example
there is requirement for each project,
right.
HR needs to have to prepare the job description and specify
And HR will recruit the people or use people from within PPC to work. Okay.
Outsourcing.
Sometimes you outsource as well. Okay. So all these things you have to be able to describe the positions you need as a project manager. So you don't go to HR and tell them, I need an electrical engineer, and that's it. You need to provide what?
his qualifications, years of experience.
Exactly. So it's your responsibility as a project manager to describe the people you want
and select also. It's called team.
Exactly.
Project manager should select.
Right. The project management team.
Then assume key person.
Yes.
Yeah. The project manager should select the project manager.
Yes, exactly. Right? And which is something we did already, because this is the team working with us in the planning itself. But here I'm talking about the project team. Yes. So the people who will actually execute the work. Okay? But again, it's still important to choose the right people. You don't want to choose people to create problems with. People whom you lack chemistry with. Right? Because they can still create problems for you. Right? So this is it, and we come up with a human resource management plan, which includes all these things we mentioned. Right. Now, as a project manager, okay, the environment you work in is very important. So you have to understand what type of organization structure you have in your organization, because that will have an impact on your work. We have 4 types of organization structure. We have functional, projectized, matrix, and composite. Let's look into each one of these and what does it mean. A functional organization is the typical organization today. Most organizations are organized in this way, by functions. So you have a department called marketing, a department called human resource, a department called procurement, and so on and so forth. These organizations also known as silos organization. In silos, يعني بالعربي silo. Okay. Why are they called silos organization? Exactly. Because this is how the departments are organized, and if someone here want to talk to someone here, you have to leave your silo, speak to your manager, the manager speaks to this manager, the manager speaks to this person. So if you try to do this, you will dead meat. Okay? That's why we call it a silo organization, right? Now this organization does not encourage horizontal communication. Okay, it's always vertical, and then when you leave the silo, these guys can talk to each other. Okay? So we call this functional. But this is the most effective way of organizing any business, because it makes sense to group people who do the same job together. Right? So it's most of the organizations are organized this way. Now, they improve on it by something called the matrix organization.
This is suitable
Yes.
for some organizations.
صح.
Like مصانع العربيات. عندك كل department.
Right. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I said.
يعني بقى خطوة ده ممكن كمشروع لازم يبقى فيه
Okay.
بس مش كله برضه يعني مكتوب لك خلاص.
project manager if he want to bring the resources.
Right. That's what we move to the next slide. Or the next.
This
So
one, the disadvantage is this.
the disadvantage, no horizontal communication.
No link.
Yes.
No horizontal link.
Yes. Okay. So now let's say I pulled Wahib from marketing, and he became a project, and we have a project in this organization. So this organization will be transferred or be looked at as a matrix. So the matrix organization is what? Is a functional organization switched to the mode of project. So Wahib will go and report to the program manager. Then he will go to each department and do what? Choose some people to work with him for the duration of that project. Okay, so he pulls 2 people from HR, 4 people from engineering, 6 people from manufacturing. He has half a person from procurement. What does half mean here?
واحد شغال معاه نص ساعة.
أيوة، واحد شغال معاه. Exactly. Okay, so these people working with Wahib for the duration of the project. So these 2 guys have how many bosses during the project? Functional and the project manager. Okay. Once the project is over, where do they go? They have a home. Okay. So we call this a matrix organization. It's very effective, but it's very challenging. The victims are who in this system? Why? Because you have 2 bosses.
You have the project boss, or the boss is the project manager.
Who's paying my salary? Who's responsible for paying my salary?
Who's paying your salary?
Yes, as an employee reporting
The
the
company.
procurement
The
manager.
company.
Yeah, so my functional manager is the one doing my appraisal. So you can't tell me he's not my
But who's
boss.
doing your assessment?
Huh?
Who's doing your
Yeah,
assessment?
okay, the project manager. That's why we said 2 bosses.
هو ادمنستريشن مدير
Yes.
لكن فنيا ومعنويا وذاتيا
Yeah.
واي حاجه
لك المباشر.
Functional manager.
If he needs something from the company,
Okay.
he asks his project manager and goes straight to the company itself.
Because during the project, you are not freed from your office duties. You still have your duties.
You still have
Yes, yes. But you're assigned to the project.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's what they said. I understand your point. If you're free. Yeah. كن شغال كده وكده.
مشي حالك يعني.
It's more safe for continuity.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Exactly.
Go back home.
So exactly. So one of the advantages of this is once the project is over, you have a home to go back to. There's no issue of what after the project. And this is the challenge faced by projectized organizations. So organizations like NASA, like in Dubai we have MR, and these organizations is all the functions you have VPs, so they are board members, and then you have mini organizations led by the project managers. So each project manager has his or her own marketing, procurement, IT, engineering, manufacturing, HR units. Okay. Now this is suitable for, as I said, long-term projects. But if you have a 2-year project and you try to make your organization a project-type organization, it's disastrous. Because these guys here there'll be a conflict of interest. What's the conflict of interest? They don't want the project to finish. Conflict of interest. Yeah? Because if I'm a procurement guy here working on a project that has to be delivered next month or next year, I say, let's delay it a little bit. No one is in a hurry. No one is in a hurry, right? But again, this is suitable for certain projects or certain environments, right?
بس لا عايز اضيف حاجه حضرتك this is suitable for big projects المشاريع الكبيره اللي فيها استقلاليه عن الشركه صح؟
Yes.
يعني لو واخد مشروع في قطر واخد مشروع في الامارات مدير المشروع مبسوط لحاله يعني
هو الامر النهائي.
Yes. بالظبط. Exactly. Okay, let me just go back to the matrix organization and give you some more classification. Now we said we have 4 types. We'll talk about the composite later. But in the matrix, we have 3 types of matrices. Okay, we have a strong matrix, a weak matrix, and a balanced matrix. Strong matrix. Now we said how many bosses this guy have? 2, a functional and the project manager. In a strong matrix, power to the project manager. So the project manager will always, if there's a clash between these 2 guys, the project manager always comes out on top. So the CEO always sides with the project manager. We call this a strong matrix. If it's the other way around, it's a weak matrix. Power to who? To the functional managers. So any clash between a functional manager and a project manager, functional manager wins. Okay? If they both have the same amount of power and authority, we call it a balanced matrix. Okay? Balanced matrix. Most organizations using this model are weak matrices. Always power to these guys. Why? Because they are the ones who's been working for this guy for years, and they will continue to work for this guy for years. So he trusts them more than the project managers. Okay, and this is again something you as project managers has to live with. It's reality.
Or to improve yourself in a way you can improve.
Exactly. What we call nurturing authority. Okay, so if you're a project manager, now that's a question also in the exam. If you're a project manager in a weak matrix organization, means that you have less power than the functional managers. Okay, you can nurture your authority. To nurture something, Anish. Nurture. In a Danish A. You nurture. ها؟ أها. تزرعه أيوة بالضبط تكتسبها أو تطورها. Exactly. Okay. So you can nurture your authority. We have so many ways of nurturing authority. What are some of the ways can we do that? Besides marrying the CEO. Okay. Okay, but there are good ways and bad ways. But good ways. Exactly. Okay, I'll give you some good examples. Okay. Now, if I join PBC as a junior accountant, so my position is junior accountant, right? But I have the top certification in the field of accounting. So I have the ACCA, the CPA, the blah, 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 and I studied overseas, but I'm a junior accountant. I can nurture what is called expert authority. So expert authority is the healthiest type of authority because it's derived from where? From your ability to do your work. So you become powerful in a sense that, oh, he knows his job. So even senior accountant can give you respect because you're good in your field. Okay? We have another type of authority which we call referent authority. Referent means siding with or combining or joining forces with the powerful guys in the organization. So if I know Osama is someone who's influential, okay, I become friends with him. So Mazin goes and asks Mahmoud to do something. تعمل كده عبد الحميد هتعمل ولا Okay, we call this referent. Okay, then we have something called purse authority. Purse authority is usually an authority that's given to the project manager if you control people's salaries or payments, or you can punish people by deducting money from them. We call that purse authority. Okay, and then of course we have all the other bad ones. Okay. التهديد والبتاع referent يكون عندك someone powerful مسنود يعني The purse, yes, exactly. If you control people's money or salaries, they usually yeah.
open market يعني.
Yes, it's open market, but it depends.
ممكن يقول لك ترجعني للراتب ولا اكلم مديرك.
Expert is the best thing. Expert is the best. You cannot play. You have to play with the street.
You need to, yes. Politics. Okay? Right? The fourth type. Composite. Okay? The fourth type is composite, so you can have within the same organization combined. So part of the organization is functional, part is projectized, part is matrix, so it's a combined. And now we have in most organizations something called the PMO. Okay? So the PMO is what? Okay, do you know what the PMO is? Project Management Office. Okay? So in, let's say, PVC, you set up a PMO. Okay? In the PMO, you can bring in full-time project managers. Full-times. Okay? So a PMO is a section beside other section, HR, finance, whatever. But within the PMO, you have full-time project managers reporting to a PMO head. Okay? So, and the PMO head also have an office here called, let's say, a project support office, where here he has project accountants, planners, controllers, full-timers. Okay? So whenever there's a project in the organization, they take the project and give it to this guy, the PMO head. He assigns it to one of his project managers. This office supports these guys, and this guy can go out and choose other people to work with him on this. So it's a combined thing. You have a projectized setup here, and they use outside resources. Most organizations now work like this in order not to unsettle the operation of the company. In your case, of course, what's your style? Who are you? Composite, matrix, project type. Yeah. Okay. You need to work out. I can't tell you. You need to لما يكون ما في مشروع المهندسين بدل يكون
يرجعوا القسم بتاعهم لو المشروع خلص يرجع المهندس للقسم بتاعه
يعمل ايه؟
لحد
ممكن يكون قاعد
ممكن يشتغل دي كده فعلا تعمل بقيه المشاريع الموجوده يعمل حاجه اللي يفتح مشروع
سترونج ولا ويك؟
فانكشنال ولا هي يعني مش في كل بس هو بجد ازاي
Okay, let's do this final thing. Oh, listen, and then okay. النهارده هنخلص 7 كلمت الجماعه هنخلص الساعه 7 النهارده بس لا خليها 7 الراجل عايز يشيل الصوت هو قاعد النهارده عشان يمشي الغدا نلحق الغدا في البيت. Okay, before moving from HR. Okay, now let's say we have these guys working on our project. So let me give you the name. So we have Abdul Hamid, we have Wahib, and Usam. So let's say we have these 4 guys working on a project, and this project is to order food for the group. Okay? So in this project, let's say we have a number of activities. So the activity 1, choose the restaurant. Okay, this is activity number 1. Activity number 2, choose the menu. So what exactly are we gonna order? Okay, activity number 3, order the food. Activity number 4, pay the money. Okay, so we have 4 simple activities and 4 people. So if I stand up here and I say, okay guys, Osama, Ihab, Hamid, Wahid, guys, can you please order us some food? Okay, وطلعت أنا المدير أو المسؤول. Okay, so okay, go ahead, can you order the food? هتتصرف ازاي؟ Okay, so you right? Okay. Okay. Exactly, right? So Ihab will tell him, listen, أنا طبعا المعلم الكبير هنا. Okay. فأسامة أنا شوية مشغول، so Osama go ahead. So Osama goes in, he عمل كده كده. When the food is here, is مشكلة القافلة. Okay. So Osama shows that he's very good in choosing restaurants. He's excellent in choosing the menus. Okay. He has good communication skills. So he ordered the food. Okay. When the food is here, he doesn't have money to pay it. Right? Okay. So the project will struggle. Right? Now I'm gonna give you a very simple tool to help you in achieving this simple task by using something called the RAM. RAM or the RAM stands for Responsibility Assignment Matrix. Responsibility Assignment Matrix. Also known as the RACI. RACI. Okay? Now, so choosing the restaurant, choosing the menu, ordering the food, paying, in general, whenever you have a project, you always need someone who is accountable for each task. Only one person, not more than one. Right? So I'm going to give the accountability in all processes to Ihab. Accountability means if anything goes wrong, he's the one we're going to go after. So I assign accountability, so Ihab is accountable all across. Okay? Now, let's come to the actual activities. Choosing the restaurant, our best man for choosing restaurants is Wahib, let's say. So we're going to give Wahib the responsibility of doing that. Okay? So he will choose the restaurant. Osama also has some experience, so why not make him, okay, do that as well. And Abdul Hamid has been around for a long time, so he has some good ideas, but we will only consult him because he's busy. We won't ask him to actually choose, but we will consult him. So he is to be consulted. Huh?
Why we take the decision to consult?
No, before. To be consulted before.
Before doing,
Yes, consulting, exactly. Right? After doing it, it's informed. Okay? Now, choosing the menu, again, we're going to leave this to who? To Osama. Okay, he will do that. Sorry, Osama is here. So, Osama, you're responsible, okay, to choose the menu, right? And we will also consult with Abdul Hamid. Okay, and here, once we choose the menu, okay, we also do what? /I inform Ihab. Why? Because Ihab, in paying the money, he is also responsible. He will pay the money. So we have to inform him what we ordered. Okay? So you see here, by going through this process, at the end of the plan, Abdul Hamid will know what he's going to do in each stage, right? We have Wahib and Usama. So everyone will be clear about their roles and responsibilities. So the RAM, responsibility, assignment, matrix. Yeah. So RAC stands for responsible, accountable, to be consulted, to be informed. طيب ايوه خلاص ناخد لنا 5 minutes عشان ناكل ام علي. ها؟ So this is the RASI matrix، واحدة من الاوتكم اللي هيكون في الاتش ار بلان. طيب اخر بروسيس فور today اللي هي الكوميونيكيشن بلان. So in planning, while we plan for things, we need to compose a communication plan. Communication plan answers a very simple question. Very simple questions, but very powerful questions. Okay? The questions اللي answered by communication plan هي كالآتي. Who should know what, when, how, and most importantly, why. So these are the 5 fields in any communication plan, in any project. Okay? So the who here, we list the stakeholders of the project. The stakeholders اللي احنا عرفناهم فين؟ مش كده؟ في identify stakeholder في initiation. في تاني process بعد الشارتر. يعني أول ما البروجكت مانجر was assigned قلنا أول شيء عمله هو عمل إيه؟ stakeholder analysis. Remember the sticky notes? The consultant, the client, etc. So here we list them one by one, whether they are people, group, companies, whatever. Okay? So let's say we have client, we have sponsor, we have maybe the media, and so on and so forth. So who? Okay? So here we have the stakeholders in the who. Stakeholders. Okay? So what is the information content? يعني محتوى المعلومة اللي المفروض يروح to go to these particular people. So the client should know about what? Maybe project progress. Okay? The sponsor should know about what? What are the information that the sponsor need to know? Maybe the finance or the financial report. Okay? Yeah, just an example. Yeah? Okay? And the media needs to know what? About the project. Just the status. What are they after? Media. And this is part of the communication plan. We need to understand what is the information need. مش بس يعني عدي حالك مشي حالك. We have to understand what are the needs. So the media wants what usually from our project? Disputes? Not really. I mean, we don't want to give them negative. But what positive? Media are usually after what? الإثارة. مش كده؟ So they want what? They want إثارة بالإنجليزي. Exciting news. Right? So we give them success stories of the project. But these things has to be very special. So we don't want to tell them, oh, we've completed phase 1 of the project. No newspaper will put that in their headlines. And that's why if we don't say anything to them, they will cover what? Negative stuff about the project. Oh, we heard there's a problem. A labor has died during. This project is struggling financially because they want ithar. Okay? Now, the when is the frequency of the communication. Frequency. Okay? So, is it weekly, daily, monthly, annually? Okay? So, sometimes we have daily, weekly, bi-monthly, or whatever. So the frequency of this communication. Okay? The how is the medium of communication. أسلوب التواصل. Medium. أو القناة أو القنوات. So we will send the client a progress report daily via email. We will send the sponsor a financial report weekly, written report. Okay, we will let the media know about success stories of our project in a bi-monthly through a press conference. So we will rent a nice place in a hotel, invite the media, give them Ali and some presents, and give them the presentation about our project. Okay, so this is called the medium, وسيلة الاتصال. And the most important question is the why question. And we always say that if you're communicating with someone, okay, without answering the why question, this communication is called noise. يعني ضوضاء فارغ. We should always have something. Sorry. Say, can you say? What did you say? Yeah. You should always have a reason why we're communicating with someone. Sometimes you tell me, but I'm sending the report to the sponsor or to the client or to the whoever, but what do I want? Yes, you want something. What do you think you want? Or sometimes, what do you want not to happen? Because sometimes you want things to happen, and sometimes you want things not to happen. Right? Because if you don't send your weekly report to the client, they will do what? Yeah? They might get upset, right? They might act in a negative way, but at least you should always have a justification for your communication. Justification. Why are you doing this? Okay, if you cannot answer this question, cancel the communication. There's no need to do it. You'll be wasting your effort. Okay, so this final composition will be your communication plan. Okay, so you just like here, if you're in agriculture, for example, if you work in agriculture and you have a field of plants that you want to grow plants in it, communication planning is like designing the channels, okay, and wanting to water to get to a certain places at certain times. So it's like designing your canals in the field of agriculture. Okay. Now, who should be addressed in what medium is very important. Very important, because sometimes a client or one of the stakeholders might be insulted if we send them an email. Does that happen? They'll be insulted. They'll tell you, why sending me an email? I need a written report. I need you to come to my office and tell me what's happening. So they think sending an email is an insult. Shida? Right? Sometimes we send an email or a report through email assuming that the person can use the email. Okay? But maybe they cannot use the email. But they will never say that. Okay? Now, Ihab is a very busy guy. Every week, I'm giving him a written report. And Ihab lives in the other side of the map, or niche. So how long does it take Ihab to get to his house? An hour and a half in rush hour, for example. So he has the report Thursday evening, and Friday is holiday. He gets home, he never reads the report. Friday with the family, take the kids out. He comes back to the office Saturday or Sunday without reading the report. Okay? So as project managers, I need to find a way for Ihab to read the report. So my target is not to compose the report. My target is what? Is to get the person to read the content, to make the content reach the person. So what can I do for Ihab to make the content reach him? Visit him, call him, or he drives an hour and a half every day. I can record the report in what? DVD or CD. Right? So once he gets into his car, he slots the CD or the DVD. While driving, he's listening to the report. Right? Because my target is for the information to reach Ihab. مش خلاص عملنا الريبورت and that's it, it's his responsibility. No. Okay, so you have to think of ways, media, okay, channels to get the information through to the person. It's your responsibility as a project manager. Okay, and we'll finish here and see you tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, we are behind by 4 processes. So the deviation, مش الانحراف نسميه التفاوت. نحن منحرفين. يعني we are 4 processes behind according to my plan, but we can make things, we can compensate. Yeah, tomorrow we'll move a little bit faster. Okay, we can recover.
Yes.
Okay, see you tomorrow, inshallah.